Hello everyone, I'm 36 years old. My former spouse, Anna, is 29. Anna and I were wed for just 3 years before my life took a turn for the worse. She revealed her real nature. Anna and I were together for a year and 4 months prior to tying the knot. Not long after we began our relationship, I shared with Anna my goal to launch my own venture. So I labored around the clock. I held a secondary position alongside my primary employment. I allocated earnings from my full-time role to cover housing, utilities, and meals, while funds from the extra work supported my enterprise. Anna was employed as a sales supervisor in a shop and appeared quite encouraging about my entrepreneurial plan at the start of our courtship. She even urged me to push harder to grow the operation. Yet, following our wedding, she lost enthusiasm for the venture. She even playfully suggested I prioritize other key matters over the company. My enterprise wasn't progressing as anticipated, but I remained committed since it was my ambition, and I believed profitability was achievable. Jumping ahead to our initial year as husband and wife. Following numerous discussions and persistent efforts, a major break came when a wealthy acquaintance proposed funding my project. Anna and I were thrilled, marking a triumph. She acted as if she trusted in me and continually motivated me to act. My operation was a modest transport firm that I'd cultivated for ages, convinced that with effective oversight it could rank among the largest in our region. Using the capital, I acquired additional delivery motorcycles and a vehicle for hauling cargo. With the extra equipment, the firm flourished and our revenue rose. I also allocated funds toward promotion and displays, which yielded results. Nonetheless, I observed a notable shift in Anna's mindset soon after obtaining the investment. We began quarreling nearly daily, and the cause was invariably finances. She disputed because she desired cash from me for purchases, relocating to a larger home, and embarking on a 7-day trip. These were costs that ought to have been directed into my enterprise when I resisted the notion. She became upset. I comprehended her wish for shopping, and I even vowed to provide her funds to acquire a lovely designer purse she'd been eyeing. But she demanded additional. She asserted she was pleased with the funding since she thought it would advantage her. I was stunned by her requests because I recalled the struggles I'd endured with my firm and the effort I'd invested. I hoped for an economic breakthrough daily, and when it arrived, I hadn't anticipated her to seek so much. In that instance, even if I indulged her in shopping, shifted to a grander residence, or vacationed, it would have come from future earnings my company generated, not the capital required for expansion and investment. I explained to her that the funds weren't for individual spending, that they had to be repaid with profit to my associate who'd supplied them. But my words were ignored, and she persisted in nagging me. She began labeling me as self-centered and charged me with attempting to hoard all the capital my buddy had provided, despite not having labored for it. When her statements failed to sway me as she hoped, she shifted to sentimental tactics and persisted through the evening. Over the course of the week, we debated endlessly until I reached my limit. I consented to accompany her on a shopping outing with a set limit to restore harmony. Then I channeled the remaining capital into my firm. I did this for Anna because I cared for her, despite her lack of empathy. As I noted earlier, with the inclusion of the cycles and transport vehicle, the operation surged, allowing us to reach broader territories than previously. It progressed to where I needed to resign from my chief role and supplementary positions to concentrate fully on the firm. I exerted every effort to elevate it, and the monthly income sufficed to handle my share of housing and expenses, with leftovers to settle debts. Roughly 2 months after my firm began advancing, Anna stated that given my financial improvement, I ought to manage the household as a proper provider. She was weary of dividing costs equally, even though I earned over double her monthly wage. Initially, when she brought it up, I assumed it was in jest. But when she ceased contributing to rent and other charges, I understood she was serious. I attempted to convey that it wasn't prudent for me to shoulder the full economic load of the home, as it would hinder progress rather than advance it. But she declined to heed. She also needed to reimburse the investment to my associate at an exorbitant rate. She pointed out that she knew women whose partners earned less than me but still supported their spouses, offspring, and relatives single-handedly. So why couldn't I follow suit? This inquiry felt like an insult, but I didn't allow it to impact me. By then, I was exhausted from perpetual disputes with Anna. It seemed as though she transformed once the funds arrived, and my firm wasn't prospering as envisioned. I was solely covering all domestic costs, the lease, purchasing supplies, and fueling the vehicle each month. I'd be dishonest if I claimed this didn't influence my firm, because it did. These days, we behave as if the firm belongs only to me. My primary motivation for initiating a venture was avoiding a lifelong routine job with extra hours, and I didn't desire that for Anna either. All my actions aimed at securing a comfortable existence and potentially offering our kids the upbringing we lacked. But the higher I elevated Anna's wants and hopes, the more it appeared she had no concern for my efforts. I wed her believing she was goal-oriented, and we concurred on aspiring to own several enterprises jointly nationwide and globally. But when it involved nurturing the sole venture we shared, she turned into someone unrecognizable. She halted aiding the household and chose to expend her income on attire, footwear, hairpieces, and whatever she fancied, while I managed the expenses for another year and several months. I endured it and strove to advance my firm. Occasionally, she would borrow my payment card for outings with companions. So you can envision that during my financial hardships, my firm advanced one pace only to regress three. Regrettably, I couldn't sustain that, as I owed repayment with added value, and I sank into severe debt issues. I had to pause temporarily. It deteriorated to where I sold all my cycles, my own vehicle, and ancestral items to clear the obligations. Ultimately, I had zero remaining, not a penny. When this occurred, I endured torment from multiple sources. She began uttering awful remarks to me, claiming we could have utilized the investment funds for a luxurious lifestyle, but due to my avarice, I squandered it all. As if her cruel comments and verbal assaults weren't sufficient, she altered entirely. We previously shared domestic tasks, but once my firm collapsed, she instructed me to handle my own washing, prepare my meals, and tidy the residence. Since I was homebound, seemingly idle, she exploited every chance to emphasize how she generated income while I was jobless. She vigorously sought employment to meet her needs. Following such a massive setback, the firm was my lowest priority. Surviving became paramount. It was then I noticed her constantly grinning and texting on her device. Then she'd return with costly presents like handbags, cookware, shoes, and outfits. I realized she couldn't purchase them, as her pay alone couldn't afford a luxury purse, and she'd need to hoard her earnings for at least 4 months for one of those premium products. Once I saw her arriving late weekly with lavish items, I interrogated her. And each time, she'd deflect and remind me I lacked authority to inquire since I was unemployed and incapable of gifting her such things. With her fresh demeanor, I knew our closeness would decline, and that's precisely what transpired. She ceased sharing our sleeping quarters because she anticipated I'd attempt intimacy. Thus, abruptly, our union turned into a horror. I believe it was around 2 or 3 months after she began returning with extravagant items that I found her outbursts intolerable. But then, my hope was to secure employment swiftly. Yet one evening she arrived and declared she sought separation. She stated she couldn't endure our marriage and disclosed she'd wed me assuming I possessed a bright prospects, which evidently didn't satisfy her. I didn't plead or persuade her, knowing it was inevitable. I was already drained from it all, and I felt dissolution was appropriate. Though I cherished her, I couldn't remain wed to a lady who ridiculed me, demeaned me, and rendered me feel insignificant at every turn. So I endorsed the documents. She departed prior to finalizing our split. Soon after our separation, I was reflecting on my existence when she contacted me via social media. Upon viewing, it was an image of her in swimwear on a boat with my affluent associate. It was the identical wealthy companion who'd backed my venture, and I felt utterly deceived in that instant. Everything clicked. The lavish gifts, scents, late arrivals with new possessions. I couldn't shed tears because her actions exceeded the stage of voicing sorrow through weeping. I even pitied her since my affluent associate had a pattern of exploiting females and had dissolved 4 unions. In reply to the image she dispatched to mock me, I responded, then I restricted her. Progressing was challenging, particularly sans employment and without aid financially or sentimentally. It was grueling, and there were moments I contemplated concluding matters as I was psychologically in a bleak spot. I even resided with my junior sibling since I couldn't manage rent or essentials. 4 months post Anna's departure, I obtained a position. The compensation wasn't as substantial as my prior role, but it was an inspiring commencement. I toiled diligently, performed extra hours, and could divide housing and costs with my sibling for 2 months before securing my own space. My fresh employment was where I encountered Maria, a 47-year-old lady who showed me particular kindness. She was clearly senior, and initially I didn't grasp why she provided me meals, suggested outings, and such. When I inquired, she explained I evoked her deceased sibling who died young, and oddly I resembled and moved like him. Maria and I grew close companions, and when I recounted my history with a failed enterprise, she vowed assistance. In our brief acquaintance, I'd already developed feelings for her. She nurtured me and bestowed immense affection. I hadn't experienced such tenderness and devotion in the 3 years wed to Anna as with Maria. I felt pampered, and I couldn't resist falling for her. Remarkably, the support materialized. Maria honored her commitment and connected me with an individual who could offer monetary aid. The person she linked me to was indebted to Maria for prior help. Maria also supplied me considerable funds to infuse into my venture. With the pact, I'd reimburse her monthly. She additionally offered suggestions on enhancing and broadening my firm, providing elements my rivals lacked. I know it seems overly ideal, and that's how it struck me. Within 9 months after Anna and my split, circumstances improved. If anyone had predicted such rapid recovery, I'd have doubted it. The sole drawback was Maria didn't reciprocate my sentiments. She viewed me as her cherished sibling, whom she longed for. She pledged ongoing support provided I fulfilled my obligations. Maria was nearly 11 years my senior, and I wasn't bothered when she stated we couldn't unite because she regarded me fraternally. It stung briefly, but I overcame it and resolved to emphasize expanding my firm. Though it resembled restarting since I'd disposed of my cycles, I didn't object to pursuing a transport enterprise with genuine desire and zeal. I was resolute to succeed with the provided resources. My firm revived and I experienced true joy. Merely 3 weeks back, nearly a year since Anna and my separation, she phoned me. She expressed a wish to meet. I suspected she'd learned of my recent achievements and desired to witness it personally. So I consented to the encounter. I welcomed her to my company's main office so she could observe firsthand. I did so to flaunt it. Upon arrival, she appeared slender and lacked the presence of a prosperous man's partner. Internally, I wished to inquire if all was fine, but I refrained. My sole intent was to demonstrate my prosperity, surpassing prior levels. The issue is Anna contacted me again 2 days past and inquired if we could reunite since she endured much with her current spouse. I'm truly regretful, but your aspiration venture collapsed due to disrespect and utter self-interest. It's repulsive to consider she merely feigned backing for you and your goals, and it's astonishing that your affluent associate chose to entertain her and even forwarded the image to gloat. What she's engaging in is vile. She's simply an idle opportunist, craving anything flashy and novel. Regarding your venture, I'm pleased you have an individual in your existence who fully trusts in you. Continue prioritizing your firm. Now it's your priority. Don't permit obstacles and avoid diversions. I encountered her several months ago. This occasion her visage bore marks. She expressed remorse for ending our marriage because even with limited funds, I handled her kindly and indulged her royally. She lamented departing. She claimed enduring physical, psychological, and sentimental torment from her new partner. I feel deeply sympathetic as her spouse is an awful individual who mistreats her bodily, and she can't report him due to his immense wealth. She also confessed lacking employment, and he forbade her working since he supplied all her desires, which oppressed her. She grumbled resentfully about his unfaithfulness and how he introduced various women home daily, indifferent to her. From her statements, I can't verify the accuracy. All I can attest is what I observed on her form. She seemed bodily, psychologically, and sentimentally distressed. It was clear she'd endured mistreatment from the initial month of her union, but she never contacted or grumbled until my firm revived. Why, I shouldn't reconcile with her, and upon seeing her implore, I requested time to consider. I truly anticipate exacting vengeance and inflicting equivalent suffering. It's humiliating that she attempted reconciliation after deeming me valueless. Regardless, it's been a month, and I can't enumerate all she did to reunite. She even forwarded intimate images per my ask, and we've communicated incessantly since I mentioned deliberation. It was as if she was presented effortlessly. All required was a month. She facilitated it greatly. In that period, she complied with every request. Even amid surprise and deceit, I placed a peck on her face, and she beamed endlessly while departing to her vehicle that day. I intentionally requested the intimate images knowing that in dire straits, extreme actions ensue. So, After gathering sufficient intimate images, I assembled all our dialogues on her divorcing her spouse and the dreadful acts he'd committed. I lifted the restriction on my associate and forwarded him all images and captures of our exchanges. Then I appended a note saying, "Assisting you avoid a mistake, pal." I awaited his viewing, and immediately after, Anna called. She sobbed and gasped on the line until she spoke. She informed me her spouse evicted her and seized all he'd acquired for her because, per him, it had been ages and zilch. And she departed empty-handed. After weeping and persisting, she stated she was heading to my residence so we could formally unite as planned. I seized that moment to reveal I was the one who dispatched everything to her spouse, and that reunion was impossible as she merited no affection. When she wept further and begged me not to, I'd already acted. I cautioned her against appearing at my home or firm, or I'd summon authorities. After disconnecting, she erased her details, and I can only envision her current torment. It was bold of her to assume she could enjoy both worlds. Thanks for hearing my tale. If you faced a comparable scenario, how would you manage it?